Welcome to the podcast with your favorite cash flow guys, Mike and Blaine. Giving you the best advice while having a beer. When you're running a business, there are problems every day. Let Mike and Blaine help you out and guide your way. Cheers to the good times with Mike and Blaine for business, beer, and BS.
Hey, it's Mike and Blaine. This is season 5. We are starting season 5 today. It's episode 172. I am Mike Milan, also known as Cashflow Mike. That is my friend, my partner, Blaine Birch from Dry Run. What's up, man?
I am starting off 2025 with a bang and a sniffle. I was in bed a few days ago, man. Saturday, Sunday, I was in bed with like the worst cold I've had in years. And I'm on the mend now. And I'm so excited that we're starting the news. You can tell 2025 is going to be such a good year when we start, and we're both wearing gray.
Gray, dreary, like, dismal. Yeah.
It doesn't seem like starting off with a bang, but anyway.
Hey, and apparently it's cootie catching season because you got it. I mean, I think Courtney's over there with a cough. I'm like, I don't know. We went to Vegas, though. You know how many cooties are in Vegas? Just craziness, just a crazy amount of cooties. Now, I ended last year with loss after loss after loss. My whole last 3 or 4 days, every team I rooted for lost. You know, every time I played any of the betting type games in Vegas, I lost. So I'm really excited. I'm really excited about 2025 because I ended on a sour note.
It's got it. It's a brand new year, man. Just got to kick it off right. It's going to be a good one. It's going to be a really good one. Although we are starting on a Thursday with gray shirts and I have a cold, but it's all uphill from here. So.
Hey, was it hard? I don't know what it is about the holiday in the middle of the week, right? From weird. Christmas to whatever. It's just, it's harder. There's something about it that throws off 2 weeks in a row of work. And like, it was tough to go back to work today.
Oh, it was. And I got to tell you a little bit about my New Year's Eve experience. So New Year's Eve, like I still feel like garbage. Like I'm not feeling very good. I do not want to cook, barely have any groceries in the house anyway. So I order food from this restaurant we've never tried before. The ratings were terrific. Order food from them. And there's a one of these delivery companies called Toast was delivering it. And I'm just like, it's only 10 minutes away, but I don't feel like getting in the car and driving through traffic to go pick it up. So I cheap out. I'm not cheap out. I actually spent money to have this delivered, left a nice tip for the person because New Year's Eve, and car shows up and they leave on the little table in front of our house. We got 2 little chairs and a table out there, and I go and pick it up and I'm like, geez, this bag feels light. And then I look and it's like, that's because it's from completely the wrong restaurant, from a completely different delivery service. So this person actually delivers for more delivery services than one. And so instead of getting all of this amazing Indian food, and we had like curries, and we had like a big stack of stuff. And I'm like, this is going to cover us for 3 or 4 days with all the leftovers. We got a salad and 3 meatballs from an Italian place down the street. So I text the guy and I'm like, dude, you took you the wrong stuff. Nothing, doesn't respond. Phone him, doesn't answer his phone. So I phoned the restaurant and I explained what happened, and they're like, oh no, we'll start getting something together for you. So now I'm driving down to pick up my own meal that I should have probably done in the first place. And this knucklehead's getting my tip and my delivery dollars and everything. And then I got there and I was a little cranky, but I'm like, the owner was on the phone trying to sort it all out. And I just felt bad because I'm like, he doesn't need this on New Year's Eve, trying to deal with this schmuck. So I just said, don't worry about it, dude. And we just, we got a salad out of it. So whatever.
Dude, I got to tell you, I mean, I want to unpack a little bit of that, but can I do it over a beer? I mean, what are you drinking today?
Yeah, we usually don't go into our BS stories right away, but I don't know. I just, it was all BS. There was nothing related to our topic today with that. But so anyway, we're diving into the new year. I was looking for something that seemed to meet today's topic. Can't remember what the term was anymore. you can tell my head's kind of, but what I came up with is it was Evolve, I think it was. And this was Meet the Nelsons. And these people have evolved into
Hops.
hops. So
Not
on the
hops.
can, if you're not seeing it, there's this married couple and their heads are made of hops. And it's Meet the Nelsons from the Hop Butcher. And it was also one of the very few that I had in my fridge that wasn't 10 or 12% because I got on a bit of an imperial kick over the holidays. And it's a really nice, nice hazy IPA.
All right. Well, I was given a gift. Couldn't believe it. I was just a gift coming out. Neighbor Pat, of course. I mean, one of our beer sponsors brings me down a beer from breweries that I've never heard of before. You might have heard of them because they're closer to the Canadian border than they are to Texas.
Okay.
It's from Frankenmuth Brewery out of Michigan. Frankenmuth.
No, I haven't heard of it.
Now, I got to tell you a little bit of story about that because it's not from neighbor Pat, right? This is from Josh's son-in-law because his dad actually came down from Michigan and brought this beer down. So this is like, this went through like 3 or 4 hands just to get to the show. That's how committed they were. That's how committed they were. Yep. They were like going, we're just going to go through 3 or 4 people. Dad brings it from Michigan, brings it to the son, who gives it to the father-in-law, who gives it to the show. Right?
Nice.
It's a traveling beer.
There's a good chance that you can't get it outside of Michigan, possibly, or the Northeast or something, because I've never even heard that brewery. So that's really cool.
Well, and here it is. It's called 'Tis the Season Christmas Town Spiced Ale, right? So it's still this kind of Christmas thing, but I've never seen this before. I've never heard of the brewery. I've never seen the beer. So I'm pretty excited about what this thing holds. And thank you, Josh and Josh's dad and Pat. Look, went through three people's hands just to get to this show. So thanks.
Oh, that's awesome. That's a good way to kick off 25. And you know what? We have some other beer sponsors, which is it's really kind of fun because most of our sponsors went to the end of 24. And we have a couple, like, of course, neighbor Pat. He's ongoing because he keeps bringing beer down the street every other day. Now, Devin, who Courtney brought to us. Courtney's a beer sponsor from.
I'm not talking about Devin. I'm not talking about Devin. Let's skip Devin.
Did your team lose to Devin?
I told you I had a terrible end of the year. Yeah. Devin, the best LSU grad in the whole entire world. He's the best fan they've got. He's probably the only fan they've got, really. But no, they don't. They have a ton of fans. But yeah, they actually beat my Baylor Bears. I think it was 2 bad plays. We had a pick 6 and then a kick returned. You take those out of the equation, Baylor wins. They didn't dominate us, but they did win. I'll give them the credit for the win. Devin, good job. Congratulations, and thanks for being a beer sponsor.
I say that when I'm watching hockey all the time. It's like, well, if you only took those 2 goals away, the Oilers would have won.
Yeah, that's right. Instead of getting
beat. That happens.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, so, they lost 3-2. Well, if you take 2 of their goals away, they didn't. Anyway,
that's true. Yeah.
But I know I'm a sports fan too. I know what it's like. Just don't watch a lot of college football, so I barely know what you're talking about. But we also have one more, and this is such a good one. Okay, this is an exciting one. So we even talked about it last week. Rachel Barnett from Gentle Frog. She re-upped for the entire year of 2025 before the year even started. That's commitment. That is commitment. I love that. So thank you so much, Rachel. And if you want, this will be in the show notes. So if you're going to check show notes, you can find her YouTube channel, but it's YouTube at Gentle Frog. And if you want to learn how to use QuickBooks, you need to go and watch those videos and you need to get hold of Rachel.
Yeah, Thanks, tell you what, awesome. And that's 2 years in a row for her. So that tells you the power of advertising right there. Not only what a value it is, but she still believes in it. Even at the cost of $5 an episode, she still believes that this is one of the places she wants to put her reputation and her brand on. So I appreciate it. Thank you, Rachel.
Yeah, thank you, Rachel. This is going to be a good year for us. We grew last year. We're going to grow again this year. And we also always have room for a few more beer sponsors. Actually, last year, by the end of the year, what did we have, like 7 or 8 at one time? Like, it was pretty cool. We had a lot. So we got room for you guys. So if you want to have your name mentioned, we even will add a link to your website, all of that in here. Honestly, it's $5 an episode. It is the most inexpensive way you can become a beer sponsor. And honestly, there's two ways to do it. Number one, you go to mikeandblaine.com and buy us a beer right there. It's $5 a beer. Number two, just like neighbor Pat, show up at my house, show up at Mike's house, bring us beer, and we'll talk about you. One bottle per episode.
Yeah, there you go. So, hey, and by the way, I think our streak is still intact. Remember, we used to talk about the streak of how many episodes in a row do we get a beer sponsor? I think we're like over 120, 130 now.
We went, I think, over an entire year. We might even be at a year and a half by now. And then on top of it, if you don't run them concurrently, we've probably had like 5 years of beer sponsors because we had all these 7 or 8 beer sponsors all at the same time. But we want to have a beer sponsor every single week. And frankly, Rachel's got us all the way through 25. So you guys, if you're looking for someone to sponsor, you just come and talk with us. But we appreciate you guys. We love this so much. We have so much fun doing this, and we really appreciate you guys feeding our beer habit.
All right, so new year, new you, right? That's what we're talking about. Everybody always says that, hey, new year, new me, those type of things. I want to go into that because, I mean, everybody enters the year with, this is what I'm going to do different. This is what I learned, and this is what I'm going to do different. And I started off New Year's with a promise to my friends. We were all standing, and my neighbors were all out there. Breger, you might have heard me talk about Breger before, neighbor Breger. We got neighbor Brandon, neighbor Josh, neighbor Thomas. I mean, all the guys were out there. And my promise to them was, because there was something that happened, I'll talk about it later in the show. This year kind of got away from me, and I was a bad friend. Right. When it comes right down to it, you know, I was a good friend when in sporadic little spurts, but I was a bad friend because there were some folks I didn't spend a lot of time with. My promise to them, my resolution was do better. Let's do better. Right. That's as simple as let's do better. Right. We enjoy spending time with each other. We enjoy hanging out. We enjoy that we all live on this block together. Let's do better.
Mm-hmm. First of all, you're always a good friend to everybody. So but it's nice to spend more time with people. I think that's a really nice resolution to have. I did hear yesterday, and this was more, I think, on the workout resolutions, but they said the resolutions on average last to something like January 16th. Like that's the average. There's like 2 weeks in and they're like done. Right. And I know in the show, like I'm always talking about the big episodes, like the round numbers and stuff, but truthfully, I don't actually take these dates and numbers that I guess it's mentally a bit of a kickoff to say January 1st is a kickoff, but like even in our business, we were halfway through December and we were like, okay, this is our shift. We're not waiting for January 1st. You know, like it's just when the time is right, the timing's right. So it's never too late or too soon to evolve. But mentally, when you have something like a January 1st or a birthday or something like that, it mentally, it gives you that little push to consider things and go, okay, what are we going to do moving forward here? How's it going? How am I going to evolve?
Yeah. I mean, it bubbles up priorities, or it bubbles up, clarity on some issues like, I told myself I was going to do that and I forgot, right? I forgot. And now you're thinking about it again. So that's kind of what it does for me. It just makes me rethink through an issue a little bit differently. I thought about yesterday, maybe I won't drink in 2025. And I said, shit, I got this podcast tomorrow. so that wasn't one of my resolutions.
And I know there's a lot of people doing what they call dry January and all of that right now. And we're not, but anyway, I'm not a big volume drinker anyway. So I just enjoy really nice beer and scotch and bourbon. So.
All right. So let's talk about business, right? Because here's where it happened with me. I'm like, okay, I wrote a small article and sent it out to folks about like 5 things I learned last year, because that's where it always starts. You can't have a resolution. You can't say this is what I want to change or evolve or move towards unless you know what it is you want to improve, right? So for me, I mean, one of the biggest things that came about was communication, which is really weird because we communicate in every form and fashion, from podcasts to videos to text to emails to like on. but it's still not there. That's a weird thing that communication still struggles, right? It's like, how do I do better at communicating? And not only that, in my business where I train, accountants and business advisors and, people that talk with other small business owners, how to have a better advisory conversation, I learned that there really was a gap. There's a skill gap. There, the accountants that are trying to do that now are going from reporting the history to shaping the future. And that's a humongous leap. And it's really outside their comfort zone because they're like going, I can report on the past. It has to be 100% accurate. How can I be accurate about what happens tomorrow? Well, shit, you can't. You just got to ask better questions and make better decisions, right? You have to do like the rest of us.
Yeah.
Right? That's really what's happening is that accountants have to do like we do.
Yeah. It's it's funny when you're talking about that because one of the things we did in 24 that I think really helped us is we got really obsessive, really obsessed with not just talking with our customers. We've always sort of talked with our customers, but drawing insights from them and sharing those insights. So every single meeting that we started the year with just this little sporadic, and then we started to get really naturally we saw the value and everyone just started doing more and more. And by the end of the year, it's like every meeting's got notes on it. And everyone is like, oh, I got to read this and see what did these people say? What did they say? What did they say? And just the one thing that kind of caught my eye was just like literally from 4 meetings this afternoon, 2 people came in and basically were asking us exactly what you said is, I want more past reporting. And that's all I want to do. And we're kind of like, what a shitty way to start the year, right? And then fortunately, 2 more people came in after that, went, oh my God, this is awesome. We need to see where we're going. And it was like, but what that did was it made me realize a little bit that kicking off the year, we had developed this habit of tracking and recording and everything, all these conversations. What I realized is, yeah, you know what? Out of those 4 meetings within a couple hour span, 2 were really poor fit and 2 were really good fit. And then I realized last year we had all these notes, and one by one, when you're reading it, was really useful information. But as a whole, we had mixed it all together. So now we can't compile it. Now we can't do anything with it because unless we went through and cleaned hundreds and hundreds of meeting notes, we can't decipher, well, what percentage were actually good leads versus bad? What were they asking for when they were good leads versus bad? So basically today we're on January 2nd, and it's a nice time to kind of realize this and kick it off and go, yeah, we're actually taking our system a big step forward so we can actually next end of the quarter and the end of this year, we can compile data and look at it in a much more sophisticated way when you're getting down to these kind of meeting by meeting qualitative notes. We can start to bring in a lot more quantitative. So that was something that I think as an evolution, I think is actually going to be a big evolution in 24. We're taking it another big step forward in 25.
Believe it or not, I think Chelsea could help you with that. If you could export all that into, a CSV or something like that, they'll help you. She'll help you dissect it. I'm telling you, she's getting better and better.
I actually did that.
Okay.
We spent some time last week. The problem was it was a massive volume of data. So I had to take the data in and have her do tidbits. And then I took the tidbits and then I had to put it together. And I actually did it all in like an hour, which you couldn't do without AI. So I did get some useful insights from that. But that was also one of the things where, yeah, this would be a lot more effective I wouldn't have to have Chelsea sort of clean all this up sort of thing. Right. So there was just from the end of last week into this week, it was, and I got to give credit to maybe it is the end of the year. Like, would this have happened? Would we have kind of stopped, looked back on the year, and then all of a sudden realized we need to evolve our systems for this year if this was November? Probably not. or maybe, I don't know. But I think it was something to do with the end of the year got us to sit back and go higher level and go, let's take a look at this stuff and see what's happening, which led us to go, okay, this data's all right, but we kind of screwed up in the way we formatted it. Not screwed up. We can evolve it. I should say that this was awesome stuff. We can evolve it to make better use of it and build some systems into place. And I actually give credit to the fact that I think it's the year turning over that had us go a little bit higher 30,000 foot view and figure that out.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because there are people right now that will start planning the year this week. Right. And I always think that that's a missing out. Now, not thinking what you just said, you made me kind of rethink it. Maybe there's an adjustment period, but I always think you should start planning the year in month 9 or 10, right? Meaning that by then you can start. Yeah. And the reason for that is if we'll say my fiscal year or my calendar year is the fiscal year, January 1st, I start the new year. If I wait till January 1st to make the plan, I might miss out on 3 weeks of just getting stuff together to change. Where if I plan in September or October, I can make all the preparations to flip a switch January 1st, and I'm ready to go from day one, and I don't miss out on that first month of the year.
Yeah, like I see that in the case of where you have to do a yearly budget based on a fiscal year. Like that makes a ton of sense, right? Yeah. You got to start early with.
Well, and I've worked with some boards, right? So when you have a board, you got to get board approval. So then you have to backtrack just a little bit. You got to give them at least a month to digest it, and then give yourself a month to adjust to anything that they bring back to you from the board meeting.
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. So when there's those factors involved, that makes a lot of sense, and you have to start early, and you shouldn't be scrambling. I think when I'm looking at as a business, like operationally, it's dynamic, it's fluid. And you can't or never, nor should you wait for times of the year to make adjustments. No, it naturally happens because maybe at the end of the month, you're looking at things, end of the quarter, you're looking at things. I get that. But it's got to be, I think, much more dynamic than that, except for cases like that, where it's like there's some reporting requirements or whatever. I understand that. I think for me, where I was getting at is this was unintentional. But the fact that it was the new year got me to pause and look at these things versus this is what we do on this schedule. It was just a nice little accident in a way that I think was really useful.
Yeah. See, what you're doing is making a great case for milestones because they're irrelevant of it's January 1st or 2nd. It's a milestone, or maybe it is a quarter because I got to produce a report or whatever. But milestones to me are key decision-making points, right? I look at everything as a decision tree. And I tell people and teach people when we're doing forecasting is if it doesn't fit, if what you're doing doesn't fit your plan, you got to adjust. You can't just continue to spend money thinking you're going to make $1 million when you're 50% below budget. Right? You've got to cut. And you don't have to wait till October 1st to do it or, the end of the year and lose all this money. You make decisions when it happens. But I think by putting a milestone in, like an RFP comes out and we'll know on June 1st if we got this contract or not. Well, you should already have a plan in place for if that happens or if it doesn't happen. Right? And your decision tree is I go left or go right. Yeah. And that's, I love milestones for that because it helps you make decisions exactly at the right time.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's an interesting, like, honestly, you as soon as you say RFP, it just, the hair on the back of my neck stands up and it's like, it's just like PTSD, RFP PTSD, I think is what the 6 or 9, whatever letter acronym would be.
You can make a parody song off Aretha Franklin's RESPECT.
Yeah, exactly. The best thing we ever did, my old business, was we stopped doing RFPs for the most part, unless we were almost begged to do them because it was, but I know there's industries and there's places where you can't get around that. There is no option. Mm-hmm. And there's, I could go and we did, the other Mike Mel and I did an entire episode on how challenging these bloody things are. But I do like the idea of those milestones that aren't attached to dates. Like, I think the reason to do like quarterly reporting, monthly report, end of month kind of stuff, it kind of forces you, or like it's like, oh shit, we better do that. Like, because there's times where you get on that train and you don't stop, and you don't stop to go, I got to get to that 30,000 foot view. So there's some real reason for that. But from an operational perspective, you shouldn't wait for things. As soon as something comes up, you make adjustments. Milestones are much more concrete because there's something attached besides the calendar date. And I actually really I like that. I really agree with that. And we do that even with our dev cycles and everything. We've got particular places. We got small. This is a big one. We have to prep for this. We have to do this. We have to do that. We don't wait for a certain calendar date to release something or to make something happen, right?
Yeah. So the milestone to me is the most critical. I mean, in my world, right? Because I'm launching features and I'm trying to plan everything else around this, meaning you probably have done it. I've done it in the past where I'm prepping people, teasing it, right? Because I have this whole social media campaign or blog campaign around a certain date. We're going to launch this epic feature, February 1st or January 1st. And then you get the news from the dev team like, oh, it didn't pass testing. We're calculating things backwards. Positive numbers, that type of shit.
That's and like I always hear from my co-founder, our CTO, like, don't promise this or that. Like, he hates but from the other side, and the sales side, I'm like, it takes time. It takes time to generate interest. It takes time for people to come in and talk with us. It takes time for them to have the timing right on their side for budget and staffing and everything else to come and talk with us. Whew.
We planned about that. I mean, I think we talked about it on here on the strategies course I just taught at the university. Like, all 5 functions of business have to kind of play together. So you have to plan for all 5 things, from HR to sales to marketing to finance to the operation, right? They all have to move in concert, right? It's not like you can't have your sales team way out in front and production can't keep up, or HR can't keep up because you have more work than you can hire for. I mean, everything has to move at a cadence, right? So it's you, the CEO, that pushes that cadence, right? For whoever's behind. That's where you're saying, hey, don't promise anything. Well, but you want, Tarek to be able to, you want him to be able to, hey, listen, you have to be able to do this, and push him towards as close as possible. So your window of buffer is a week to 2 weeks and not 1 to 2 months.
Exactly. It's an art, probably more than a science, on sprinkling it into the market, starting to build demand, starting to build interest, starting to have those conversations about things, and moving and like kind of keeping the pace up on the dev side, so that, because the worst thing you can do is overbuild and it ends up vaporware. But you also don't want to have something come out that's totally half baked. Like, it's a real balancing act, right? Like, tricky.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I am a super big fan, and I teach it and I talk about it a lot, maybe not on this podcast, but a swim lane chart helps me keep all that moving in the same pace, in the same direction. It just, if anything, you give yourself just the visual aspect of, how do I keep this train all in the same lane at the same pace?
Yeah, interesting. I like it. As soon as you say swim lane, I'm like, I get exactly what you're saying. I've never heard of it called that. Maybe outside of you, but
I didn't make that up. I mean, it's a thing. It's really underutilized because I don't think people understand how to use it. And if you think about it as swim lane, I'm not trying to win the race in my lane. I'm trying to keep everybody at the same pace across the pool.
Yeah, or the proper pace, right? Like you said, there's people leading out. Feels like a Gantt chart to me. Some people are leading out, and some people are,
See, but Gantt charts, I mean, that's just it. People get confused on, even though they're supposed to be, this has, it's contingent, or it's concurrent, or it's simultaneous, or it's, this has to happen first before that. Swim lanes are a little bit more broader. And it's about, not specific task. It's about specific measurables that have to happen at a certain time. Like I have to have this feature by this date, and my sales team can't start promoting it unless it's into testing. You know what I mean? It's about it's a step up from a Gantt chart. It's a little bit more bird's eye view.
Okay. Which I prefer to the Gantt chart, which gives me heartburn.
Yeah. Hey, check them out. Swim lane charts are huge in maintaining the overall business together. Now, what I like about Gantt charts is the specific project, the individual project of an individual task that has to be done.
Yeah, and that's likely what they're like appropriate for or whatever. But it reminded me that when I visualized what you're talking about without seeing it, that's what it kind of felt like or reminded me of. But at some point, honestly, you stick any fiddle opera on a graph, and I'm like, okay, well, whatever.
Hey, speaking of the future, I mean, if I want to know my future and what I could project out from like a cash perspective, if I was going to have enough money to pay a bill or make payroll or not, what would you suggest?
Well, I think, and thank you for that beautiful segue.
Man.
You should give Dry Run a quick look. So no, if you're a CFO, internal CFO, or even a fractional CFO advising companies, and you're in a spreadsheet doing cash flow, you got to come and talk with us. Now, Dry Run does more than cash flow. I will say that, but the pain that we hear every day. And we actually had one today where she dropped an F-bomb because she's like, I cannot do another reference spreadsheet, which I thought was hilarious. If you're doing cash flow in a spreadsheet and it's giving you a headache, it's because it's too complicated. It's because too many people are involved. It's because you're trying to explain something that's complex to the management team. That's when you need to come and talk with us. Now, if your cash flow in a spreadsheet is a 3-line spreadsheet and it goes over, like, yeah, we simple is fine. Stick with it. As soon as it starts to tip over and get complicated because there's too many people and too many moving parts, we're going to give you something that's going to save you hours every week, but it's also something you can walk into the management team meeting and show them and get everybody on board and understanding exactly where you're going. So come and visit us at dryrun.com and we'll get you set up.
Right there. I don't know about you guys that are listening to this, but right there is the evolution of Dry Run. Meaning I've seen this thing from year one anyway, not day one, year one anyway, to now. You have evolved your target audience. You know who it's for. You know where it works best for. And the more complicated your scenario, the more important it is to use Dry Run.
Yeah. And it's complicated or sophisticated business, right? Like it's tricky. Like finances are tricky, right? And we can help you simplify that. We can, especially like I said, you got multi-entity, multi-currency, weekly.
Proud of you, man.
All that
I'm
stuff.
proud of you. Hey, you're dialing it in, man. I can see it. It's just like going. You're really dialing it in. So
it's hard. We could do an entire episode on dialing it in, and we're still working to dial it in. But every business has to deal with this. Every business has to figure it out.
I think every business, even though we think they have it figured out, they're still trying to figure out something next. You know, that next evolution, because the business changes around you. Yeah, there is no set and forget anymore. There just isn't. I mean, it's a constant evolution of your brand. It's a constant evolution of your message and your product, right? Think about it. You know, what we sold as software in 2012 when I got in at Finnegraph to what I have to sell today, totally different products. Totally different products. Because the consumer in every market is more sophisticated now than they've ever been. And I keep saying that, and I've said that back in 2012, and it is more true today than it was then.
And everything's accelerating. All of it. I'll say 2024 was one, despite all the COVID stuff and everything, 2024 was a difficult year for a lot of businesses, a pivotal year. There were a lot of changes going on in the business world. And it will continue in 25, but hopefully more of an upbeat sort of way. But boy, things are changing fast. And we've talked about AI in this show a bunch of times. That's going to have an impact on all businesses one way or another over the next few years. There's a lot going on. And so no matter, you can't say we've done it the same way for 20 years. That used to work. That's not going to work anymore.
Well, what really brought it to my attention about, I've really got to evolve. I've got to do that is I started the patent process for my product, right? And because of that, it made me rethink the entire steps behind. I learned something about patents that I didn't know prior to it, and I have a patent. I have another patent. I'm like, oh, it doesn't matter what it looks like. Doesn't matter in software. When I'm talking about software now, does not matter what it looks like, right? Because I mean, even if I did the same calculation wherever, and you did a pie chart and I did a bar chart, what matters is what happens behind the scene. It's your process. It's what makes it unique and what makes it novel. And that's what's becoming more and harder to do is what makes that novel behind the scenes that I'm doing differently than anybody else.
Yeah. What's
on the screen is only the design. That's not the process. That's not what you patent. I mean, you can get a design patent, but that's not what you're patenting is the way people see it. You're patenting your process behind. So if you're in software right now and thinking about it, document everything you're doing and how it's different than how somebody else would do it that makes you unique.
Interesting. I've never been through the patent process, so yeah.
It's a motherfucker. Pardon my language. That's the first F-bomb I threw this year.
Starting off 25, first episode in. Woo! Yeah, Mike's on it. That could be our third magic word of the day.
No, I don't use that word very much. But I'm just saying, going through it. Here's what I liked about that tedious process is that I think I got a little lazy, like all of us do when you become kind of considered an expert in something. I'm like, no, I get this. And you can just it's unconscious competence, which means I just do what I do without even thinking about it.
Yeah.
When I step back and have to answer the question, why do I do something in the software so I can get the output, the result, the design that you see, that made me really rethink everything about why it's important and why it's novel. Yeah, it's
interesting. Really interesting, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it also makes your eye twitch at night. That was my whole December. Yeah, it was my whole December. It was like going, why is my eye always twitching?
Yeah, a little bit of stress on the old peepers there. That's it. It's interesting though that I wouldn't mind doing an episode at some point on that like patent process, trademark, all that kind of stuff. It's just I find it interesting, but I've never been through the patent process anyway. I have the trademarks, of course, but interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, we've got a couple of trademarks over at with us, and we're going to patent the software only because I do think it's unique in the advisory space and the way I'm using information and AI now. And I think we're even incorporating some blockchain stuff. So it's going to, and the blockchain thing is kind of it's trying to embrace the future and provide credibility to data. Right. That's what I'm trying to do with the blockchain stuff.
Okay. We'll talk offline about that because I'm kind of curious.
All right.
Curious about it. Yep.
Yeah, I don't want to give too much on here because
yeah, exactly.
Still got to get my shit in.
Sauce.
I got to get my shit in.
Well, also people might start falling asleep, but I'll find it interesting.
That's true. That's true.
And like we are talking about some really interesting business topics today, and evolving and all of that, and I'm assuming this is the other Mike Cashflow or the other Mike Milan wrote on our chat. Something about the Ravens. So thanks, Mike, for not listening to what we're talking about.
I don't know what he's talking about. So, all right. Yeah, thanks.
You guys are your football.
This isn't a football episode. This is about personal development. It's about us. It's about our business.
We're above that. Yeah.
All right. So if you could name one thing that you think that you would, is a resolution a promise? Is that kind of a promise? It's probably not as strong as a promise. What is it?
It feels like a self-made promise, not a promise to another person. Or would that, I don't even know, like, man, some English prof out there knows. That's how I interpret it.
All right. So if you break a promise to yourself, all right. So if you break a promise to yourself, what does that mean?
Absolutely nothing. That's why they all go out the window by January 16th.
So a promise only holds weight if I promise to somebody else. Look, to me, I'm like going, I knew I was lying to begin with.
Exactly.
I knew I would do that. I've seen me do that 100 times. I knew I would go do it.
That's exactly it. You know what? It's funny because I think they're, I feel like you're kind of either hardwired to just stick with shit like through thick and thin, or you just don't. And I don't think a time of year or anything else really probably makes a huge difference on that.
All right. So this has been the fastest growing startup I ever built out of 14. Fastest growing. And I think it has the makings of being one of the bigger companies I've ever built.
Mm.
Two key things that I learned in 2024 that I've promised to do more of in 25. How about that? That's pretty good, right? That's like a resolution. One is this community. People really want to belong to something. They want to feel like they belong. They want to feel like there's a community of other people that believe the same things, and you can talk the same language, and there's a sense of community. And so it's grown pretty fast, and it's exciting to see people. And I'm going to try to say this humbly, when you hear your words come back to you, that's an interesting situation to be in. You're like, hey, man, we just talked about that, and people are saying the same things because they believe the same things. That's building a community, right?
Yep.
Because we all believe that it's helping somebody else, right? My whole mission is to, eliminate cash flow as a reason that businesses fail. That's the whole mission. And I feel like that's what we're believing. The second part is that once you build a community, I have to listen, right? It isn't just me talking and hearing my words coming back. I also have to listen and apply the learnings, right? Whatever you learn from them. Mm-hmm. So the whole product now, I used to be the type of guy that would plan a product from start to finish. This is how it should go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're going to love it. Go play with it. Dude, this thing has evolved based on the needs of the people that are talking the most, right? I'll say the most are the ones that make the most sense in the next logical step. And it is a change in the way I've built products. And it's customer-led, not developer-led.
Yeah.
And it's harder and it's taken longer. I should be at what I have right now is a product. I should have got to, if I would have done it the other way and I knew all the answers, which I don't, I would have got there 6-8 months ago.
Yeah, that's the reality of it. Is if you look at it from a technical perspective, technically you could build something, but it's not slower. What you've done is probably accelerated at 10x. Because
from a sales perspective, I built something that people wanted rather than something that I wanted to build, and then went and tried to build or sell something I built. That's
exactly it. Because it's funny because we're this, like I was talking about before, we're basically on the same sort of trajectory. We have spent, especially this last year, last couple of years, especially this last year, 24 was a different year for us because we got serious. I don't even want to say we got serious about it. The culture shifted where we got obsessive about the customer and their needs. And it evolved the product to where it is today, but it's also got this roadmap that is really dialed in, and it has nothing to do with us outside of listening. We put on our listening ears in 24. We sat there and we were kicking off, we just finished a sprint and we were like, okay, are we going on to this next sort of function? So yes, this is what we're going to do. This is what we've planned for the last month. We're talking with people, blah, blah, blah. And then, and then one of the people who was in a meeting today basically said, this is amazing. I need this functionality. This would really help. And it's like, yeah, we're working on that right now because we listen to our customers and we're prioritizing. And our software from January 1st last year to this year is completely different. But what I'll say is, I shouldn't say it's completely different. It's a lot more sophisticated. It's evolved, but probably the most important thing is January 1st, 2024, we were still kind of making this move up market and trying to figure out who the hell our customer is. And it's now like we kind of know who they are, what we're solving, and we have this map of priorities. This is how we go, okay, we solve for this many people. And when we add this, it widens a bit, and we add this and widens a bit more. And we add this and it widens a bit more. And there's a clarity that we have now that I couldn't have even imagined a year ago. But we have to execute. Nothing's going to come by accident. We have to execute in 2025 to be able to take advantage of this knowledge that we gain from just simply talking with our customers.
Well, I think what we're both describing is we've always tried. Now, listening to your customer isn't a new idea. That's been around forever. Doing it is damn hard, right?
That's the difference.
Right.
This is the idea versus execution. Exactly.
Yeah. So, and then understanding that the timeline is not what you think it's going to be, right? Because, like I said, if I look at what I have, we should have been able to build this like 6 months ago, but I wouldn't have been able to because I didn't have the right information.
It's the simply.
I would have built the wrong thing. I would have built the wrong thing. Yeah.
Exactly. If you knew then what you know now, which was like it took years for Dry Run to figure out. There was a time where we were selling and we were growing and it wasn't the right fit. And then we now get a lot more conversations with people kicking down the door to talk with us. And it's slow. Like that's the thing is it's slow at the time because you're gathering this information. You have to see these patterns. You have to talk with enough people over time to get these patterns. But over the sort of the lifetime of releasing this product, it'll be multiple times faster because you're going to get to the right solution so much faster, even though the time is long. It's hard. Like there's no way around it.
You know what's funny is that by piecemealing this product together like I did in phases, I just as a phase, listen to the customer phase, listen to the customer phase. It took longer. It didn't cost more. It was about 25% of my previous product where we went start to finish in 4 months, 5 months.
Yeah.
It cost me more to build a product faster, and then it wasn't the right product.
Yes. Which is like, honestly,
that's weird as hell. That's weird to say.
It's really that this is why like 10% of tech startups are successful. Like tech innovation startups, 10% are successful. There might be another to 10% that hang around and survive. But even if you give credit to another 10%, 80% die. And 80% die because they always talk about product market fit. They talk about talking with your customer, but it has to change from just sort of giving it lip service to making it a core part of your business and finding a way to operationalize it, like to actually drive it into execution. You can't just like have people talking. It's like, we're obsessed with talking with people. Well, what do you do with that information? How do you actually operationalize it?
Well, and where I see it at is that people build past minimum viable product, right? Stop there. Get to something that just does the bare minimum that people will buy, and then validate the market and see what's next. They'll tell you what it needs, what it lacks.
Yep.
Right? When you start adding more to it, you might be spending cycles and dollars that aren't necessary, and people won't use it and they won't like it. Go to MVP, validate the market, right? With feedback.
Yep. I can say we did that, but
I can say I haven't done that in some cases. I mean, this time I did, but in the past I haven't. We didn't do it with Finograph. We didn't do it with Cashflow Tool. We didn't do it at Path. I would build and build and build till I thought I would like it, and then I was past people because they weren't ready.
Yeah, we did an MVP version, very like low tech MVP version.
MVP, if you're listening, some of you guys don't know software and all that. MVP is minimum viable product, which means, hey, just it does the bare minimums.
Yeah. I will say that a lot of startups, when they go down the path of MVP, sometimes they focus too much on the M and not as much on the V as they should. And they get into trouble because of that. So they minimum. Yeah. But if it doesn't meet the viable part, no, and like I think we did, like I was too slow initially, took too long to get our MVP out initially. Very basic prototype. We got good feedback from it. The problem was I was talking to the wrong people. And then as we started to go, this is more the right area. We thought we had product market fit and we thought we were going after the right people. And then we dove in with both feet before we really, truly validated it. And we spent a lot of time and a lot of money going after the wrong people. And to our detriment, and I'm going to share this because I think it's really valuable for people. There were people that were successful in kind of kicking down the door to use us. And because they weren't that many of them, we said they were outliers. I actually called them outliers at one time, at one point. Missed the fact completely because it didn't fall into our narrative that we had built up and put all this money and energy into. And so it was just easier to say, oh, interesting, but they're an outlier. And, a year and a half later, we went,
that's the channel. That's the channel.
That's the channel. We've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars and went after the wrong channel. And then there were some really hard decisions and a big pivot involved to go after the right one. Because there were people kicking down our door because we weren't listening to our customers. Yeah. We were selling like hell. We weren't listening to our customers with our real, true listening ears and being able to absorb the fact that we maybe weren't on the right path. And that's tricky. That's very tricky to do, right?
All right, so let's look into the future here. What does Mike and Blaine look like at the end of season 5?
What's that big ball in Vegas called?
Sphere?
The Sphere. The Sphere.
Okay.
December 31st, 2042. We will be sitting on stage in the Sphere doing a show from there. No, you asked about 2025. Okay, 2025.
I want to do that one too, though.
we want to do that one too. By the end of 2025, we will have 10 beer sponsors, and we will have grown our. Like, it's tricky with us because it's not as simple as subscribe, because most of the people I think actually watch us live. But we're going to get a 30-40% bump. That's our goal for by the end of 25. That's a really boring ass goal. We need something better than that.
What could it be? By the end of 2025, we have done a live version of this show somewhere cool.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. We'll do a live version somewhere cool, and that version will be Bourbon Day.
Bourbon Day. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
No, I'm going to change that. I'm going to change that. It may be Whiskey Day, because I got a scotch a little while ago that was freaking amazing, and I made me want to crack it. Like, have a little tip of that.
All right.
I got a new favorite scotch.
Right,
Sidetrack, guys. I think I have a new favorite house scotch, Kilkerran 12. I'm just going to mention that because if you guys haven't tried it, it is terrific. Personal preference, I know, but it's really good.
I just added Whistle Pig to my collection up here. So
okay,
we're good. We're good. I'm good with a Whiskey Day. So, but it's got to be somewhere cool.
Yep.
Right. It's got to be together. It's got to be live.
Got to be live.
All right. Got to do.
Let's figure this out.
Because if you're listening to this, I mean, this isn't a business for us. So we do it for fun. We do it for fun. We do it for, we do it because we think it's providing a great service. I enjoy talking to people about different things, what we think, what's happening in our lives, and what we're trying to do next. And we could use your help. That's the other thing. We could use your help and just spreading the word. You don't have to sponsor. You could, but you don't have to sponsor. You don't have to go buy our merch. You don't have to like and subscribe and all that. Tell somebody else to.
Exactly. And I want to thank Luna, because Luna, if you're out there, if you're still watching, this was not a football related comment that was not related to what we were talking about. And Luna says, grow with your customers. And that is like, so Luna, you probably figured out much faster than Mike and I how to do this. So I give you credit for that, because it's true. And I love that. Grow with your customers. That should be our mantra for 2025. And also we're going to do a live show somewhere where it's cool.
And believe it or not, we still do this show, but we stick to our knitting. It's going to be like this.
Snuck that one in. Right
at the bell. Right
there at the bell.
Hey, Luna, Michael Milan up in Baltimore. Thanks for joining us on chat. Love that. That's kind of fun. So, talk to you guys. Happy 2025 there, Blaine.
Yeah, you as well, man. I'm excited. We are kicking off year 5 here. This is so much fun. It's the highlight of my week, and we're gonna grow and do some cool stuff this year in Mike and Milan, and also in our own businesses. And we're gonna be able to talk about that, and we're gonna share that with you. And make sure you don't miss the episodes as we talk about all this stuff. So make sure you subscribe, you like, you follow. And if you do want to be a beer sponsored, like I said, just go to mikeandblaine.com, buy us a beer, buy us 10. If you buy 52, well, 51 now, you will be a sponsor to the end of 2025. And you can also just show up at Mike's house or at my house and bring us beer, and we will also include you as a sponsor.
Check out their website at mikeandblaine.com. Then subscribe to the podcast and buy these guys a beer.